With that, I will call this December 17th, 2020 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. Will you please first, please join me in a flag salute in honor of those serving our country. Are we going to have a flag, Cynthia? There we go. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That takes us to our first agenda item, which is general public comments. This is an opportunity for the general public to comment on an item that is not on the agenda. However, it is also our practice, if someone would like to make a comment on an item that is on the agenda, that they may do so at this time rather than waiting for that agenda item to pop up. Do we have any public comments, Cynthia, as far as you know?
No, we do not.
And hearing none, I'm going to move us to agenda item 1.2. Will you take us to that, Cynthia? That is to administer the oath of office to trustees. Vice President of the Board, Danny Kelly, will be administering the oath of office to myself, to Sally Biggin, to Richard Dorn, and to Dr. Rebecca Robertson. Danny, or excuse me, Trustee Kelly, are you ready to proceed?
I am. Thank you, Trustee Mullery. Are we starting with you?
That would be fine. What do you want to do?
All right. Let me do that. Not quite sure how to do this on Zoom. Do you want to raise a hand?
I'll raise a hand.
All right. And repeat after me.
Mm-hmm.
I, Colleen Mullery,
I, Colleen Mullery,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
and that I will well faithfully engage in the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Yay. Congratulations.
Thank you, Vice President Kelly.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Trustee Dorn, how about you next?
Okay.
I, Richard Dorn, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Richard Dorn, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the
that
Constitution.
I will bear,
Yeah.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. All right. Let's see. Dr. Robertson, would you be willing to go next?
Yes.
All right. I, Rebecca Robertson, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Rebecca Robertson, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Trustee Biggin, that leaves you next. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I, Sally Biggin, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Sally Biggin, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
President Mullery?
Yes, thank you, Vice President Kelly, and congratulations to everyone. I'm going to take us to 1.3, and I'm going to start with the member comments because one is a very appropriate segue from administering the oath of office to trustees. And that is, per our board policy, we do assign mentors to our new trustees to just sort of give them some advice or answer questions that they may have as they're getting started in their roles. So for Trustee Robertson, I'm actually appointing myself as your mentor, Trustee Robertson, so I hope that's agreeable to you. And I will be in touch with you to make sure you have all my contact information and we can figure out how we would like to engage in this mentoring process. In normal times, I'd suggest we have a cup of coffee, but we could have coffee over a Zoom meeting.
Over Zoom, yes.
Yeah. So I will be Trustee Robertson's mentor. And Trustee Capini, I have asked Trustee Biggin if she would be willing to serve as your mentor, and she has graciously agreed. So Trustee Biggin will serve as Trustee Capini's mentor.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. And while I have the floor, I do have a couple of announcements. First, I want to congratulate Trustee Kelly. He applied to become a member of the Advisory Committee on Legislation. It is a group that's part of the California Community College League. And his application has been accepted. And he is now a member of that committee. The so-called ACL committee. I start to hate acronyms, which is the Advisory Committee on Legislation. So congratulations, Trustee Kelly, and thank you for your interest in serving on these statewide committees. I think it's really wonderful that our college is being represented so well at the statewide level. So good.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a great role model with Trustee Biggin. She's
Oh, I
taught me
know.
everything I know about doing that.
Nobody can touch Trustee Biggin on the leadership she has shown in that area. Again, while I still have the floor, many of us did participate in the CCCL convention, the annual convention. That's the, now I'm into acronyms. That's the California Community College League convention. Normally they're held in a city. Last year was in San Francisco. This year, of course, it was all done over Zoom between November 17th through November 20th. And I don't know about the rest of you who participated. I know many of you did. I was really very impressed with how well that Zoom conference went. And I sincerely hope that in the future, they'll continue to make that an option. I mean, there certainly is a value to being able to see and meet trustees face to face from across the state. But you know, not all of us can attend all these conferences, and there is the financial impact. So I was quite impressed. I'll just do a couple of highlights. I imagine other trustees have other highlights. There were several really wonderful keynote addresses. One that really stuck to me was from the president of the University of California. That's Dr. Michael Drake. And for those of you who might not be familiar with the titles in the UC, the president is comparable to a chancellor in the UC. Their presidents are chancellors. It used to always confuse me, and I always have to remind myself. But the president of the UC is the person who is responsible for the entire University of California system. And it was really wonderful to hear from him and all that he is doing in the area of student success, but most importantly, in collaborating with community colleges and actually also the CSU. There were several concurrent sessions, as is typical at these annual conferences. I have a list of the ones I attended. One of them, as I understand it, Trustee Kelly also attended, and that's the policies and procedures through a DEI lens. I was particularly interested in that myself because that is something that we're moving towards at College of the Redwoods. I knew that the league was looking at this, and I was hoping actually we could piggyback on the league as we review our policies through a DEI lens. I think Trustee Kelly is going to talk more about that. There were several other concurrent sessions I attended, how equity and access has changed, affirmative action in an academic environment, international education in a post-COVID world, which I found interesting. What boards can do to advance the vision for success, very interesting. I'm also interested in the legislative environment, so I looked at the preliminary look at the 2021-22 legislative session, and there was also a really interesting work group that presented DEI, or diversity, equity, inclusion implementation in the community colleges. So again, I just want to applaud the league on putting on what I thought was a really well done conference. I sort of had misgivings going into it, but oh God, I'll be Zooming for days. But it went really, really well. So thank you, league, for doing that. That is the end of my report. I will turn it over to my trustee colleagues. Let me see, are there any hands up, or do you want to just?
Yeah.
Yeah, Trustee Capini.
Yeah, thanks, President Mullery. Yeah, I was privileged with Trustee Robertson to attend the new orientation for new trustees. And, with the leadership of CRFO and CSCA and Management Council and the Cabinet and Trustee Kelly, just want to, and President Flamer, just want to thank everyone for their time. And it was really informative and very interesting. And I know it took a lot of their time, and it was really nice.
That's good to hear. Thank you, Trustee Capini. Are there any other board member comments? Yes.
President Mullery,
Yes.
so I just wanted to comment that that I have been able to attend 5 of the Building Bridges workshops on racism, and the last will be tomorrow morning, which I will be able to attend. And I have personally valued those experiences and those conversations, as well as, looking at it from the point of view of trustee and the role of the board. And then on December 8th, I was part of a meeting with the foundation, and talking about coordinating projects of the foundation in our community with the Del Norte campus.
Very good. Thank you, Trustee Matthews. Anyone else have a comment they'd like to make? Trustee colleagues?
President Mullery, I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, Trustee Kelly.
So I recently attended another REDEC board meeting, and we had a presentation by the Humboldt County Economic Development Director, Scott Adair, and was disheartened to learn that we've lost 243 businesses this past year, double from the prior year. And while it's to be expected, it really made me think about the listening tour that the ACCT invited me to, that I put a PDF of the topics. There's so many things competing for our attention right now, but I really push them to prioritize creating a financial planning playbook for community colleges based on lessons learned from the pandemic recession, as well as the number 2 on the medium priorities, synthesize and round out ACCT materials that address specific priority issues such as workforce needs. We've got so much on our plates right now, these pandemic times, and issues of social justice are just compounding financial issues and student equity issues. And we've got a lot on our plate for this next year as a board. But I really do feel confident that this new board is going to be committed to those goals and is going to self-educate and participate in these discussions, these very robust discussions that we're having as we go forward. I did attend the CCLC 2020 convention, as Dr. Muller mentioned as well. And I also attended the policies and procedures through the DEI lens session, and I wanted to make sure that you all had access to that recording if you get a chance to listen to it. I was kind of inspired that we had already taken that upon ourselves as a board to do that in our last goals session. So I'm hoping that we can fully commit to reviewing those policies and procedures that way. I know it seems a little counterintuitive. We review these policies every year, but I think it will be a really interesting study for us to look at them through a specific lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you.
I think someone's got some feedback loop going on there.
Trustee Mallory?
Please.
I wanted to share that I was able to participate in the series that ACCJC did. It covered, was 2 days each week, and it covered some exceptional authors and books that are out related to higher education. I expect, we have had, other staff and faculty that may have participated and listened in on those ACCJC sessions, but they are posted on the ACCJC website for anyone who didn't see them, but they were a number of exceptional presentations there. Also, thank you for your comments about the conference, the annual conference, and they still continue to plan to do webinars up through the May convention, and instead of having in-person workshops and conferences. So They will be charging though in the future, so we'll certainly want to budget for that because they are very valuable, as you so appropriately shared. Thank you.
I agree, and I'm sure there is a significant cost of putting that on in a virtual environment. One other, and there might be other comments, but you reminded me of something, Trustee Ziggin, and going back to Trustee Kelly's comments, all of the recordings, at least from the CTLC annual conference, are available on their website. So if there are any others that you might have an interest in reviewing, they're up there and you can kind of pick and choose and fast forward as you might like. And since you mentioned a book, President Flamer was kind enough to get me the book that many at the community at CR will be reading, Cynical Critical Theories by Helen Pluckrose and James Lindsay. Thank you, President Flamer, for providing me this book, and I'm looking forward to the conversations about it. I'm sorry, I might have stepped over another trustee who might have another comment. Is there anyone else who has a comment? Hearing none or seeing none, it's a little tricky in the Zoom environment. I'm going to take us to agenda item 1.4, board committee reports. I do not think we have any board committee reports. Am I correct? I thought not. So that will take us to agenda item 1.5, the status of the Board of Trustees request. President Flamer, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you. Today we're going to have a presentation on, as Trustee Dorn and the board agreed at the last boarding, for a capital projects update. So Mr. McKenzie, Steve McKenzie will provide the update to the board this afternoon with all of the projects that we have on our plates right now. The CR history / historian project that's been in the works for a little over a year. The person that we assigned it to has submitted her retirement, which we've accepted. And so now I'd like to either take that off the task list or understand that this will not be done for at least a year until I can identify a staff member or some other avenue to be able to fulfill this particular request. If the board still feels strongly enough to keep it as one of my tasks, I will keep it, but understand it'll take me some time to get to it. And the other issue, the other project, and this has been on the books for a while, this first raised its head as an issue when the flu season hit about a year ago. And we wanted to put a flu vaccination as one of the tasks, or one of the things that we would look at as we hire. And that becomes a working condition. So we're still at the stage with both CSEA and CRFO of how we could talk about this as a working condition issue. But given the pandemic, that has taken more of our time than what the flu shot issue was. So please understand this is going to take me some time to get to.
Well, any questions or comments?
President Muller, you may ask a question.
Trustee Kelly.
Dr. Flamer, are there any plans for the college to acquire vaccines for distribution to students or faculty?
No, right now I'm just trying to wait and see what the process that Humboldt County is going to engage in to vaccinate the rest of our community. I will likely ask Bob Brown or Nate Keys, who helped us on the flu shot, getting the flu shots on this campus, to get in contact with our Humboldt IPA, which is our service provider, to see if that department can come out and provide shots to faculty, staff, and students on this campus. But right now, it's really too early to tell of how the rollout's going to happen in Humboldt County.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions or comments? Hearing none, let's move to organizational procedures, specifically agenda item 2.1, and that is the election of officers. Officers being the president, vice president, and clerk. I'll provide some background on that, and then I'll ask for a motion to begin. Per our policies and procedures, an ad hoc committee was appointed in October and brought a recommended slate of officers to our November board meeting. Recommendations from the ad hoc committee. By the way, the ad hoc committee consisted of myself, Trustee Biggin, and Trustee Emad. The ad hoc committee recommended for president of the board, Trustee Danny Kelly, vice president of the board, Trustee Carol Matthews, and clerk of the board, Trustee Richard Dorn. Per our policies, to begin the election process, I will ask for a motion and a second to open nominations, followed by a vote of the members. Do I have a call for a motion to open the nomination process?
I so move.
Okay, I heard Trustee Capini and Trustee Matthews doing a first or second, whatever
Right.
Cynthia says. Okay, so we now have the nomination process open. At this point, any trustee can nominate a person for a position. I will start with the position of president of the board. Do I have a nomination for a trustee to serve in the role of president of the board?
President Mullery,
Yes, Trustee Matthews.
I would nominate Danny Kelly to serve as president of the board.
A second is not required, but are there any other nominations for president of the board? Hearing none, we shall vote for Trustee Kelly to assume the role of president of the board for the calendar year 2021. Cynthia, would you please take a roll call vote?
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery.
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia, and congratulations, Vice President, President-elect Danny Kelly. Thank you for your willingness to serve in that role.
Everybody.
I'm seeking a nomination for Vice President of the board. Do we have a nomination?
I'll nominate Trustee Carol Matthews.
Are there any other nominations to serve as Vice President of the board? Hearing none. Cynthia, would you please take a roll call vote?
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery.
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you, Trustee Matthews, for your willingness to serve in the role of Vice President of the board. Congratulations. Our last position is for clerk of the board. Do I have a nomination for a trustee to serve in this position, clerk of the board?
President Mullery, I nominate Richard Dorn to serve as clerk of the board.
Are there any other nominations for this position? Hearing none, Cynthia, would you please take a vote?
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery.
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you, Trustee Dorn, for your willingness to serve in this position. I appreciate it. That completes agenda item 2.1. That takes us to agenda item 2.2, and that is to review the Code of Ethics and Trustee Protocols. These are associated with Board Policy 2715, and of course the AP, the Administrative Policy. Sometimes I'm going to be saying things as much to help, not that Dr. Robertson needs help, but to make sure Trustee Robertson is informed of how we do things around here. So with a board policy, there is typically also an administrative procedure that provides us guidance on how to actually implement the policy. So this is our policy of Code of Ethics and Standards of Practice. This is not an action item, it's a discussion item. We just like to have this on the agenda annually just to remind ourselves of our Code of Ethics. So it's not just a piece of paper that's in a 3-ring binder somewhere. And I'm hoping my fellow trustees will indulge me. I know you can all read, but I think this is a really important policy. Not that all of our policies are important, but I think it's especially important that we really look at this and read it and be familiar with it. So please indulge me while I read to you. So our Code of Ethics starts out with protecting the interest of students in every decision and assure the opportunity for high quality education for every student. We also use the powers of the office honestly and constructively, communicating and promoting the needs of the community to the college and the needs of the college to the community. We avoid situations which have or appear to have potential for personal gain and to act honestly and openly at all times. We recognize that the primary duty of the board is to represent the entire college district with awareness at all times of special needs of each of the center instructional sites. We act only in the best interest of the entire community. We maintain an atmosphere in which controversial issues can be debated openly and fairly, protecting the dignity of individuals. We respect others and act with civility. We base decisions upon all available facts in each situation, vote their honest conviction, and abide by the final majority decision of the board. We recognize that the information and deliberation of the board in closed session must not be disclosed or discussed with anyone else without the prior approval of the board. We follow the board's policies and procedures and the orderly agenda of the district. We act through the president of the board and the president superintendent of the district to participate in local, state, and national legislation to protect and to promote the interest of the district, unless by exception, which must be approved by the board. And we do have several standards of practice. What I just read was essentially our code of ethics. In terms of our standards of practice, we will be informed about the district, educational issues and responsibilities of trusteeship. We'll devote adequate time to board work. We will attend all board meetings regularly and promptly and review all materials sent out in advance of the meetings in order to assure meaningful participation and make informed decisions. We will use appropriate channels of communication. We will prevent conflicts of interest and the perception of conflicts of interest. We respect the letter and intent of the Ralph M. Brown Act, taking official actions in public sessions. We ensure public input into board deliberations, adhering to the law and the spirit of the open meeting laws and regulations. We maintain the confidentiality of privileged and closed session information. We exercise authority only as a board. We delegate authority to the president superintendent as the board chief executive officer and confine board action to policy determination, planning, performance evaluation, and maintaining the fiscal stability of the district. Recognizing the importance of understanding and evaluating the educational program of the district and of providing for long-term educational planning. We refrain from interference in administrative areas, and we are advocates of the district in the community by encouraging support for and interest in the Redwoods Community College District. Again, I thank you for indulging me in reading to you, but I just think this is a really important document that we should revisit. Are there any comments or any further discussion on this? I'm not going to read the AP to you. You're all saying, thank goodness.
I did have a question.
Yes.
And I believe this is where it was, I think in the AP perhaps, that the president of the board will go to the convention in January, as well as new trustees, and Trustee Bingham just mentioned there was a fee. So I just want to make sure we approve that at some point.
Yeah, I actually, Trustee Dorn, I don't think it's part of this particular
Okay.
your AP, but you're absolutely right. There certainly is an expectation that at least our board president and others, but the board president attend the
Right.
conference. And we will do all that we can as a district to assist in that or facilitate that. So thank you for bringing that up. And for Trustee Robertson, this is a conference that is typically held in Sacramento. It's designed to essentially orient trustees throughout the state on the community college system and their roles of trustees. It's a really valuable conference. And I imagine it will be zooming to your home at some time in the near future. So thank you, Trustee Dorn. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, and again, thank you for letting me read to you. That takes us to our consent calendar items. A trustee may request that any consent calendar be removed, or excuse me, action item be removed from the consent calendar. Is there any item that a trustee would like to have removed for further consideration?
I have two,
Okay, Trustee Dorn.
3.4 and 3.5.
Okay. Are there any others? Then I am seeking a motion to approve
I
consent.
so move.
Well, let me to make sure we're all.
I second it.
We want to get this thing rolling here. So we have a first and a second to approve action items 3.1. I'm going to say this whether you like it or not. 3.2, 3.3, 3.6, 3.7, and 3.8. Cynthia, would you do the honors, please?
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes,
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery.
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia. Trustee Dorn, would you like to speak to 3.4?
So with 3.4, the personnel actions,
Yes.
I was just like to understand a little bit better about the classified positions that are out there in relationship to our actions at the last board meeting with, you know, terminating, stepping up, however you want to explain it. And are these classified, were these part of those? And were there bumping rights from the past employees? How do these interplay with that?
President Flamer, would you like to speak to that, please?
Which classified positions?
Well, if
Probably
you
the ones
scroll
that-
down, I did not print it out.
I imagine you're looking at.
Right there, yeah. So these, I'm just curious of how they
Of
fit
course.
in with, and I've seen them advertised on Facebook too, and so that's what I was curious about.
These are new employees to the college. So these were not the results of, these were not the results of bumping.
But were these are new positions then?
No, these are positions that were vacated because they left the positions.
And so,
And Trustee Dorn, it wasn't because of the administration's actions.
Oh.
This was voluntary separation.
okay, and so what about the people, the employees that were separated? Do they have priority into applying and getting hired for these positions?
Some of them have already elected to take other positions and some
Right.
on a 39-month rehire. But also when a position comes open, people who were in other classified positions or like classified positions can opt to transfer in to that position. For example, you will see an employee change of status.
Okay,
And that one of those employees was was moved from his other position to his new position, then he elected to transfer into the vacant one. So
Okay, yeah, no, I was just,
I'm sorry, there's such a delay, Trustee Dorn, I apologize.
no. I just wanted to, I was concerned, I just wanted to understand the process more, and then just to make sure that the employees that were separated, I like that word, had priority in getting rehired if they so chose.
Absolutely true.
Okay. That was it
Yeah.
for me.
Trustee Dorn, since you also had a question about 3.5, why don't we just speak to it?
Okay. So I had two questions on that. One was the brain trust contract.
Yes.
And with HR, and is that part of the new hire for the consultant in HR? Or are these separate?
No, it's the same company. It's very similar to prior to Julia Morrison being the CBO, we entered a contract with CBT.
Okay.
It's same thing.
Cynthia,
Okay, so basically this is the contract for the gentleman we're gonna vote to hire or are hiring.
You are correct for Jack.
Okay,
And it's a short-term 5-month contract.
right. No, I just wanted to confirm that those were one and the same.
Yes, they
And
sure
my
are.
my second question is the HOOPA contract.
Yes.
Is that more or less than last year?
It's just about the
didn't
same as last year.
Okay, so, and it's not based on any enrollment numbers or anything? It's just,
No.
Okay, I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Dorn. I need a motion.
I move for approval of 3.4 and 3.5.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Cynthia, would you please take a roll call?
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Carol Matthews,
Yes,
Sally Biggin,
Yes,
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery.
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia.
President Mullery,
Yes, Trustee Matthews.
this had nothing to do with the vote, but I just want to take a moment regarding the curriculum changes to acknowledge the amount of work that went into not only all of the annual reviews that come up every 5 years, but all of the work regarding, mode of teaching, the distance ed and correspondence ed, adapting that with all of those courses in order to deal with our distance ed. But it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Thank you, Trustee Matthews. Thank you for pointing that out. You're absolutely right. The faculty and staff have put in a huge amount of work to make our virtual learning during this pandemic possible. So thank you for noting that. Hearing no further comments or questions regarding our consent calendar action items, that takes us to our action discussion items, specifically 4.1. Do we have that up there yet? Yes. To approve the monthly financial status report. This is an action item.
I move approval.
I second.
President Flamer, would you like to provide any additional background?
Very quickly, there's very little change from last month. It's just been a few weeks, but there's very little change, except I want to make note that the LAO's office did say that we may have a little extra money in 2019 via taxes. And if that actually holds, then the state has an option of rescinding or revising the deferrals. And right now, with the pandemic running, surging even more than they expected over this break, I don't know if that level of increase in taxes is going to make a difference in our deferral of apportionments. That's the case. So, but we're still projecting a 9% fund reserve. That's if the state pays us what they owe us moving forward. And that's my only comments on this particular item, Dr. Mullery.
for everyone's education, our reserve goal is,
10%.
so we will just be 1 percentage point below that, which is good. I'd also note that our 10% is actually relatively low throughout the state. Am I correct with that observation, President Flamer?
Dr. Mullery, you are correct.
So thank you. Are we ready to vote?
I had two questions.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, Trustee Dorn.
So one, and I'm not sure that, I'm curious about the property taxes and the issue with the controller's office. And I was going to ask this when we discussed the trans. And the reason, a little bit of background on property taxes is I happen to have an appeal with the assessor, which we settled in August. And I'm still waiting for my refund check. And I've called the controller. So I'm just wondering, were you at the meeting where the soups talked about the controller, or what information do you have on us getting our money?
I was not at that particular meeting, although I wish I was present. Vice President Morrison, can you answer Trustee Dorn's question?
So if I understand the question correctly, is it, will we be receiving our property taxes in a timely manner?
Yes.
Well, I think that the part is it will get deposited and credited to College of the Redwoods. It's us receiving notification that that happened, that we're getting the lag time on.
So do ours come through the controller's office or through the state? I know they guarantee the state guarantees us so much.
Through the treasurer.
Okay.
Yes, and so Trustee Dorn, it does come through the county. And
Okay.
with the county's issues, it's going to take some time for the property taxes to come to CR, but even more important is it has delayed our ability to close the books.
Right. Well, that's why I was asking. I think it's actually something when we get to the trans discussion that we might want to throw out there, just for that.
Understood.
And my quick other question, the fixed expenses, was there anything significant that we're up higher than what we should be with our normal percentage at this time of the year?
Vice President Morrison?
Cynthia, can you open the attachment, please?
It's under use of funds, fixed expenses.
Got
Yeah.
it.
The only thing that has really been different this year, and of course we've had some decreases, but we just received notice that our water bill for coming from, was it the Humboldt Community Services District, they've been billing us at the wrong rate. They've been billing us at, I think, 2 inches of pipe, and we're actually 6 inches, and I might not be using the correct terminology. They're not going to go back and retroactively bill us, but going forward, we're billed at that new amount, and it's a significant difference.
Wow. Thank you.
Which direction?
Yes.
How is it significant, Vice President Morrison? Is it more or less?
It's much more. It's basically calculating on going from a 2-inch calculation to a 6-inch. So it's a much larger volume.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's not good.
Well, and they just had a major rate increase anyhow.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
I use a well, so I'm not as tuned into that as maybe I should be. Thank you, Trustee Dorn. Are there any further questions? This is an action item, isn't that correct? I can't see the header, but I believe so. Cynthia, would you please?
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Pauline Mullery.
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia. That moves us to 4.2. which is also an action item. Is there a motion to get this on the table and then we can get some?
So move.
I'll second.
Thank you, thank you. President Flamer, would you like to provide any background on this?
I have very, very little background except what's written, except to say thank you to Vice President Morrison for stepping into the breach when the district needed it,
Yeah.
when our HR director left at short notice. So Vice President Morrison, thank you. And hopefully your time is up with the board's approval today.
I thank you, President Flamer, for noting that. I know Vice President Morrison has a very full plate, so to have
Maybe we should keep her on.
In any event, thank you for pointing that out, President Flamer. I think we're ready to vote on this. Cynthia, if you will.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Carol Matthews,
Yes,
Sally Biggin,
Yes,
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Pauline Mullery.
Yes, thank you, Cynthia. So when we remove, then we must appoint. So agenda item 4.2, or excuse me, 4.3 is to appoint a district labor negotiator for employee organization CSEA, and that would be Dr. Jack Miyamoto, who will be serving as our interim chief HRO. So do we have a motion for this?
I move.
I'll second it.
Did we lose Trustee Mullery?
Pardon?
oh, there you go.
No, I was looking for President Flamer, but is he still with us?
I am still here.
Okay. I was asking if there was any additional background you wanted to provide before we voted on this, or ask if there are any questions.
No, I don't on this item. Thank you.
Are there any further questions about this? Hearing none, I think we're ready to vote, Cynthia.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Carol Matthews,
Yes,
Sally Biggin,
yes,
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Pauline Mullery.
Yes, thank you, Cynthia. 4.4, one of my favorite agenda items. We will be approving the academic calendar. So do you want to pull it up so we can see it, if you don't mind, Cynthia? And let's see, do we have a motion to get this on the table?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Are there any questions on this?
Yeah, I got a question. Now, how I read it, now correct me if I'm wrong, Cesar Chavez Day and Native American Day is optional. Is that included in this? Or if it isn't, do we want to include it?
Trustee Copini, that's often one of my questions.
Wow. I'm sorry.
President Stewart, would you like to respond to Trustee Copini?
I would. The district and CRFO negotiated in good faith to develop the calendar, which is our practice. And because those two holidays, if you will, are optional, we decided not to include those because we want to make sure that we meet the at least the minimum instructional days plus a little buffer, which in the past we have needed because of the closures. So we always want to make sure we have enough instructional days. But we do celebrate those holidays not for time away from the classroom, but other ways like through our Multicultural and Diversity Center. So the college does celebrate them, just not by having days off, but we do celebrate them with our students and staff and through other departments.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that question, Trustee Copini. Are there any other questions on this or comments? Hearing none, then I think we're ready to vote.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Cupini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery.
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia. That moves us to 4.5, our district clients with 50% law. So this is a discussion item. President Flamer, would you like to provide some background on this?
Certainly. So normally we have the final 311 report and the final 50% law calculation at this board meeting, but because we have not been able to close the books in time, so we cannot close the books for the audit, nor can we certify the 311 that goes to the chancellor's office. However, we thought that it was still important to get our 50% law compliance analysis to the board for a discussion, especially since we have a new board member, a new trustee on the board. So we are required by law to spend at least 50% of our general fund on instruction. And the chancellor's office has a pretty involved numerator and denominator formula. But in the past, in the far past, we've had problems meeting. We have not met the 50% law. I know that there's 1 or 2 years where it's become a little too close. This year, we are calculating these, looking backwards in 2019, we're looking at about 54% of our general fund was spent on instruction. And that is good in 2019 and 20. There may be, in going forward to 2020 to 21, that 54% may not likely hold because we had to cut some of the associate faculty budget in fall semester. And we tried to balance the cut in the associate faculty budget with the other cuts that would fall into the denominator of the formula. So we're always that 50% calculation is always top of mind as we look at budget reductions.
Flamer, would you speak to one of the problems as to how the chancellor's office defines instruction? In other words, there was a time when there was an issue. We wanted to enhance our counselor instructional staff that could impact the 50% law.
And that is the issue that has been discussed for at least 15 years of how we can change it. I think Trustee Matthews was part of that conversation when she was tenured. That our counselors and also our librarian faculty and instruction are not counted as instruction. Mm-hmm. They're counted in the denominator. So they're counted, and I hate to say this word, but against the 50%. So it's not really against, it's just calculated differently. The CEOs in California and others have lobbied the academic senate as well as the chancellor's office to try to get our librarians and counseling faculty involved in the calculation, in the positive, if you will. But there's been some resistance, significant resistance across the state on changing that law.
So what is the repercussions? Like, I mean, if we don't make it, I mean, I know we haven't before, but what is from Sacramento or otherwise?
Actually, there's a fine if we can't meet the 50%. And if we can't, then we have to get the concurrence of the academic senate, and the senate has to concur with us having some leeway on the 50%. And if we don't meet it over 1 or 2 years, then the fine does get accrued.
What kind of how big of a fine?
I would have to go back and get that for you. Okay. Since we haven't had to worry about it for a few years, that hasn't been top of mind.
Yeah.
So if I may, President Flammers, the new funding formula will have no impact on how this is calculated?
That, you are correct. That is now off the table for discussion, yes.
So are there any further questions about our compliance with 50% law? Thank you for that background, President Flamer.
You're welcome.
That will take us to our next agenda item. And this is our resolution authorizing and approving the borrowing of funds for fiscal year 2020-2021. And that is the issuance and sale of a 2021 tax and revenue anticipation note, otherwise known as TRAN. You all hear that as we do our community college speak. Participation in the Community College League of California Tax and Revenue Anticipation Notes Program. So this is an action item. It's something that we do pretty much every year, but President Flamer, would you like to provide some additional background or anything you'd like to say about this?
Just very quickly, the board, as well as through the board's audit committee, we have talked about the TRAN and the need for the last couple months, and the board, I believe the board discussed it at its November meeting. And the whole point of the TRAN is so we can meet payroll and have a bridge between what the state says that it owes us and the state actually paying us. So we don't have to dip in our reserves, which is a little bit fuzzy and uncertain. So a TRAN just lets us have a bridge between where we are and where we will be in a year and a half from now.
Yeah.
And we are entering a TRAN with other community colleges. So that liability is shared.
President Mullery?
Yes, Trustee Matthews.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate what President Flamer said, that the audit committee did meet more than once actually over this issue, and has met more than once with the representatives of the agencies and firms that are working on the TRAN with us and would be handling the actual processes. Extensive, as you can see from the length of the documents. And we voted strongly to recommend to the full board that we approve resolution 772.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Trustee Matthews. That's very helpful.
President Muller, may I ask a question?
Kelly, please.
Dr. Flamer, is there any group that is an oversight on these funds once received? Like the measure funds, often there's a board that's appointed over that. Is this just the audit committee that will be reviewing it as the funds get used and paid back, or is there some other entity that oversees these?
Actually, it'll be the full board who will oversee the TRAN, because because it's helping our general fund. So the audit committee, we can always update the audit committee as the audit committee chair would want, but normally it's the full board that talks about where the money is once it comes to us.
Thank you.
I had a question.
Yes, Trustee Dorn.
So, and I think it was in Vice President Morrison's update or report, she mentions that the interest rate is set, I believe, in February on this. How does that work? I mean, what if the interest rate was outrageous? Would we still be tied to it?
Vice President Morrison, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. I think that's the point of having the pool, is that it helps with the ratings. It helps with a better interest rate.
And is there any estimate of what that interest rate is right now, or no?
I don't have anything current for you. I'm sorry.
I
Okay.
will follow up with I'll give the board the update on what that is.
Well, I'm not, no, you don't have to do that. But if, let's just say it was an outrageous interest rate, we would still have to be tied to go with it?
If we were needing to borrow cash and that were our only option,
Okay,
then I would say yes. However, I think the whole point of having that pool is to help keep that interest rate better, at a better, lower rate.
no, I understand that, but in today's world, God only knows.
Well,
Right.
and this is Trustee Kelly. I was sat on the audit committee through many of these discussions, and as far as I understand it, we may not need to draw on this. We're simply authorizing the use of it should we need to.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
So I would move approval of resolution 772.
Second.
Are there any further questions or discussion on this item? Hearing none. Cynthia, I think we're ready to vote.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes,
Carol Matthews,
Yes,
Sally Biggin,
Yes,
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia. That moves us to 4.7, which is to purchase a lot on Allard Avenue for our construction technology program. The amount of or the cost of the lot, I should say, is $100,000. This is something that we pretty much do annually. I guess it's a lot to refurbish a house. So this is an action item. I need a motion.
I
I
so,
move approval. Go ahead.
I so move.
Alrighty, so we have Trustee Matthews and Trustee Copini. President Flamer, is there any additional background you think you'd like to share with us on this?
Oh, this program is one of the jewels in the crown of CR in terms of that we purchase the lots and we use our students to build the house, and then we turn around and sell the house for usually a profit, and the money, it goes right back and gets reinvested in the program itself. So it's always sold and reinvested into our students every year. So this is an extremely important program to CR.
Yeah, it's a wonderful program. I know this isn't really part of it, but I did want to acknowledge again the construction technology program and applying and doing the remodeling or the rebuilding of that home that was so badly damaged when a car drove into it and unfortunately killed one of the residents. So the construction technology program is really an outstanding program, as is all our programs at CR. Are there any further questions on this?
Yeah, I just have a comment, and maybe Trustee Dorn could speak to it. Isn't $100,000 pretty cheap for a lot, or not?
not really. I think it's a subdivision lot and it's on Allard Avenue. So, yeah, I mean,
Not a great deal, just average?
I'm not going to say that. It just seems like that's pretty what's going rate.
Oh, okay.
You know,
I've been in Ferndale too long.
Ferndale's always expensive.
Any further questions? Hearing none, I think we're ready to vote. Cynthia?
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes,
Carol Matthews,
Yes,
Sally Biggin,
yes,
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery.
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia. That moves us to 4.8 to approve the emeritus faculty nomination of Professor, I think it's Dan Calderwood, isn't it? Yeah, there he is. There he is. This is one of our good news resolutions or action items. Is there a motion to get this on the floor?
Move to approve.
I need,
I'll second.
thank you, Trustee Matthews, Trustee Kelly. President Flamer, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
This is one of the recommendations that I'm really honored and proud to forward to the board. Dan Calderwood is not only one of the most wonderful and insightful faculty members I've met, but he's genuinely a genuinely great human being. And he is going to be sorely missed, not just by the administration, but every one of his faculty colleagues and every student that have come through CR. He's just been a wonderful, wonderful mentor to all those students. Yeah. And CR is a little less for having Dan Calderwood retire, but I know that he'll be on his surfboard or on his bike around town. So I know he's not gone for long.
Thank you for those comments, President Flamer. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I believe we're ready to vote.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery.
And congratulations, Professor Dan Calderwood, and thank you for all your service to the records. That moves us to 4.1, to approve the RFQ list of project construction management firms. This again is an action item. We have a motion.
I so move.
I second it.
Thank you. We have some background on our document. Is there any additional background you'd like to provide, President Flamer?
The only thing that I can add is as the board will be informed about in 5.1, which is next, we have several capital projects that are on the front burner to move forward with. And based on best practice, we want to have a list of approved managers, contractors, or construction managers who can help us manage these multi-million-dollar projects. So we're not just relying on our staff to do that.
Thank you. So again, this is just a request for qualification response. Are there any other questions or comments?
Question. So I can't see the whole thing, but these are firms that responded to our request and that we are approving them as potential construction managers.
You are correct.
Okay.
And we will likely add more to the list. It depends on who else responds.
Okay.
It sounds like we might be ready to vote on this. Cynthia?
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yeah.
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery.
Yes, thank you. That moves us to our informational reports. We'll start out with the capital projects update, and I believe that's going to be given to us by Mr. Steve McKenzie. Are you with us, Mr. McKenzie?
Hi, good afternoon, board members. Thanks for the opportunity for me to participate and update you on kind of where we stand with our capital project program that's going on. As President Flamer said, it's quite robust at this time. So I'll go through the list, and we'll start with our utility infrastructure replacement project. Currently, we stand at about 80% complete on this project. Most of the projects, there's 8 different projects within this larger framework. Several of them are complete and in the testing phase, so that's good progress that is being made. The wastewater treatment plant, they've finished completing the concrete work of the recirculation tank and the gravel filter. That project, which is project 1, is scheduled for completion in March. We've been actually discharging on site since the 1st of April of this year, which has helped our regulatory requirements to a large extent. Another section in the main part of this project that's really left outstanding is a water tank replacement project. It's an increment 2 submittal on this project. We're anticipating, we're doing a code review to make sure that the 2019 codes The design meets those codes currently, and that we expect the project to go to the Division of the State Architect in January. And typically that's for something like this, about a 2-month process. We're staying close with the Division of the State Architect on this for expediency. The new 12 kV power system, main switchgear system, will go online also in March is our anticipated date. We're working with PG&E now. Most of our infrastructure is in place for that switchover to take place, and they'll do PG&E will do their work in January, February, and then we'll go through a testing process on the new system and get that switched over. Also, as part of that, the completion of the installation of some new transformers and main switch gears in 3 of the different building complexes on campus will take place in the summer, because they have to be the new system has to be put online before that can take place. Once those are done and once that project is complete with the 12 kV, then we'll be scheduling the demolition of the physical science, life science buildings that currently house our 12 kV system for spring, summer. That'll take a bit of a time to get done. That's really the update on the infrastructure project. The new Creative Arts Drop and Replace project is moving along. It actually cleared the Division of the State Architect in November with its permit. Those plans have gone back to the Chancellor's office and the Department of Finance for their review. The college will be working on the front end documents for bid to get this back out. The Department of Finance usually takes 2 to 3 months to do their review on this. So I anticipate this project going out to bid in early spring. The new physical education field house drop and replacement project, we did get final approvals on that in October, November as well to move forward with the working drawings. So the working drawings funding phase of that did take place, and the architects and engineers are currently working to update those drawings and get them ready to go to DSA. We expect DSA approval on that in possibly October or November of 2021, of which then, again, the plans will go to Department of Finance. So we expect, and then the funding for that project, though it remains on the, as a viable project on the budget, governor's budget list, the funding will be in place after July 1st of 2022. So it's, as anticipated, about a year behind the Creative Arts project. I'm going to throw in here the new residence hall replacement project that we're currently working on. We're working with Servitas on this. We're working now to bring an architect on board for this project, defining the size and scope and the location, the exact location of the buildings based off our buildable sites there. That'll just be a continuation over the next 2 to 3 months. As far as the financing for this, we're looking at using the USDA financing program because it's got extremely low rates. It's a more encumbersome project to get financed, but the rates are extremely low currently. We anticipate the rates final rate to be for construction to be somewhere between 2 and 2.5%. As of today, it's actually 2.125. So the interest rates on that project are extremely low. Makes it very viable. The other one I just want to report on is our solar field project. The contract has been signed. Forefront Power is currently working on all the project scope and calculations. That's about a 4 to 6 month process. Once that is put together, and then they will deliver that information to Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, which then they have about a 6 month process for review. to make sure all the interconnectivity and grid connectivity meets their codes and standards. So we'll work through that. Once PG&E approves the project in those specifications, then the project will go into final design, final construction design, and final layout. Again, that's about a 6-month process. So we're looking at a construction start and in the summer of 2022 on this one as well. That's an update on all the capital projects really at this time. So if anybody's got any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. That was really.
Steve, I don't know if you touched on the demolition of the LS and PS buildings, the timing on that?
Yeah, I did, Keith. We're looking for those when the new 12 kV system comes on. We're expected in March to be able to start our demolition on the life science, physical science complex in spring, finish it up in summer.
I just had a question.
Yes, Trustee Capini.
Because you talked about the borrowing money through the USDA. Isn't the state reimbursing us? How's this here? Why are we paying for them or what? The buildings.
Yes, when you get into an auxiliary function as housing or dining or athletics,
Okay.
the state does not fund really self-supporting entities like that. So yeah, this will be a responsibility of the college.
Okay, and then what is the term on it? Is it 20 years, 10 years, 30 years?
I think it's too early to really talk about that piece, Trustee Capini. We have Servitas that will present to the board, I think January or February, and talk about its findings. But to add a little bit more information to this is that similar to what we've done with our current residential life system and dining, all that's run through our foundation. And so really it'll be, we will also present the numbers to the foundation as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
I had a quick question.
Yes, Trustee Dorn.
I should have asked this before. So do these buildings all have to go through the Coastal Commission approval? Or are we in the zone or exempt?
That's a good question, Trustee Dorn, that I don't have the answer to. Myself, I don't know what the history's been on these projects in the past, being still fairly new to the college. And just getting through the process. I don't have an answer for that right now, but I can look into that.
Yeah, I actually would really like to know, especially in relationship to the solar system,
Right.
just if they're going to be approving that design and location. So, thank you.
Thank you.
President Flamer?
Yeah, I see Trustee Matthews, and then we'll go to Trustee Kelly. Go ahead, Trustee Matthews.
Well, I was just, with the last buildings that we did build, did we have to go through the Coastal Commission for those?
No, we didn't.
I didn't recall doing that. I don't think we are going through need to go through Coastal Commission for the buildings on the campus.
We have not in the past, but I think I'll go back and clarify. You don't know if something's changed over down the line.
Got it.
Trustee Kelly, I think you had a question or comment.
Thank you, President Mullery. Dr. Flamer, what is the process for reviewing the needs of the various campuses that we have on capital improvements? I know that we're focused quite heavily right now on the Eureka campus, and these are extensive projects, but I guess I'm wondering about our other campuses. I know we sometimes briefly touch on them in the facilities master plan conversations that we've had in the past, but I guess if you could just speak for a moment about how our other campuses are faring and what capital improvement projects might be in the works for them.
Actually, so in terms of process, we have it built into the facilities master plan, which we will update once our education master plan is updated. But also annually that the board does approve the list of projects that we send to the state. And we reprioritize those projects on an annual basis that the board approves. On our Del Norte campus, we have those portable buildings that were built, I believe, in the 60s. And they do not meet the minimum threshold for the state to replace them. So if we were going to replace the buildings at Del Norte, then that'll be on CR's general fund, or we borrow money against that. We have been working closely with the Hoopa tribe and our KT site. So we know that they need some money to offset the facilities upgrades that they need to do for our students at the KT site. And we put money in the new MOA that the board ratified today that allows me to give them a portion of the Garberville proceeds to upgrade their facilities. And so in the past, we have never done that. This year, we recognize that they are our students too. Officially, they're our students. So we want to do our best to treat them like any other site and give them money for their upgrades.
Thank you.
President.
Matthews.
Oh, I was just going to point out, just to keep in mind that much of the work on the Eureka campus is a result of the seismic issues and not really having choice about dealing with those buildings, which unfortunately the portables do not present a seismic issue because and I understand that that they didn't qualify for other state funding at this point, but it is a problem for the district and for the Del Norte campus because those buildings they're not good now and they're not going to last.
Right, but also we have put a high priority on safety and ADA compliance. So when those raise to the forefront, then we do allocate money immediately to upgrade ADA compliance issues, but also health and safety, and that's
right
in the general fund. But yes,
right. I know they've been repaired. I understand.
Any further questions for either Mr. McKenzie or President Flamer? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. I very much appreciate you taking the time to give that good update to the board.
Thank you.
That moves us to 5.2, which is the Grove program update. And I believe Dr. Johnson, Dr. Kinte Johnson, you're going to update on this, update the board on this.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing?
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Welcome.
Good. Thank you, Cynthia. I'm going to pull my screen up real quick. I'm just going to share. Everyone can see my screen. All right. So thank you, trustees, President Flamer, and distinguished members of the board for this opportunity to present to you today. My name is Dr. Kinte Johnson. I'm the Director of Special Programs here at College of the Redwoods. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about our Grove program, the Growth Resources Outreach Valued and Empowerment Program. I'll give you a little bit of history. We'll talk about how we got funded, some of the services that we're providing, and the students we're helping. History, these efforts really started, I would say, in fall 2018. It was a joint effort between HSU, Humboldt State, and HCOE. The leadership, Dr. Flamer, Dr. Jackson. No, it was, I'm sorry. It was our previous HSU president, as well as Dr. Chris Hartley, got together and put together an equity summit. And under that equity summit, there was a couple of workshops addressed around student homelessness and housing insecurity in Humboldt County. And from those efforts, Dr. Flamer and his leadership and his vision, he created the Room and Board Scholarship, which was the first room and board scholarship that would provide financial aid in the form of room and board to students in the community college system. And after we created the room and board scholarship, we had a pilot of about 5 students in the dorms. We learned a lot. We learned that our students that we were helping and trying to help, these students had a lot of barriers that were preventing them from being successful, that was outside of the classroom as well, and that we need additional support and help to be able to support these students. So that fall in spring, that spring 2019, I completed a 5-year plan to be able to address food and housing insecurity amongst our students at College of the Redwoods. In that plan was the Grove program, the creation of that program. That program will have 3 goals. And our first goal is to increase the academic success, retention, persistence, unit completion, degree certificate, and transfer among students attending College of the Redwoods. Also reduce the housing insecurity among students attending CR by 2025, and reduce food insecurity of students attending CR by 2025. So the mission of our program is to improve academic success and social outcomes of our students, including retention, success, completion rates while they attend CR. So December 2019, we created that program that fall. December 19, I attended the National Association of the National Association of the Education and Homeless Children and Youth Summit in Washington, DC. I met a young lady named Jillian Sahar from Schoolhouse Connection. She invited me to do a webinar on our program, and that was in January 2020. January 2020, we hosted a national webinar. Myself, Marty Coelho, Joe Hash, and Dr. Flamer spoke a little during the webinar. And then also that spring, I presented at the CHEBNA, which was the first intersegmental higher education basic needs summit, and presented a workshop with Sacramento State around our emergency housing efforts, because at that time we had expanded the room and board scholarship and was providing some emergency housing for students who was coming on our radar. I had also submitted, we heard that there would be an assembly bill called Assembly Bill 74, which would award $9 million to the community college system to address homelessness and housing insecurity among students. I filled out the application, and that March 2020, we were one of the 15 colleges who were awarded $1.5 million, $500,000 over the next 3 years to address homelessness and housing insecurity amongst our students. Since then, since this spring, we've been helping a lot of students. I'll be honest with you. The pandemic has been really hard on our students, the challenges, the barriers, the things that they are facing. And to have this program and to be able to provide some of the services that I'm going to talk to you about, we're pretty fortunate to be one of the 15. We're able to issue financial aid to students to help them in the form of emergency hotel vouchers. So since last semester, and in the summer, throughout the summer, and also into this fall, we've issued out 30 to 40 different hotel vouchers to students, over $76,000 this semester alone in hotel vouchers, emergency hotel vouchers to students in the form of financial aid. We're also able to assist students with rental subsidies and deposits. We've issued out over $145,226 this semester in rental subsidies and deposits for students to help them who are homeless or housing insecurity. We also are housing 18 students in the dorms this semester who are homeless or housing insecure to help them with their needs. And we also have an additional about 14 students, well, it was 14, now we're shrinking those numbers, but we have about 7 students, I'm sorry, right now currently in motels that we're working in helping to get permanent housing. We've also officially entered, or entering, shall I say, I'm working on the MOU, into a partnership with Arcata House. This work has we've realized that a lot of our students have higher needs than we're able to provide as an institution. And having a partnership with the organization like Arcata House, who have a history of working with individuals who are homelessness and housing insecure, has been super beneficial to us in the initial stages of the relationship. And it's going to be monumental in the forms of supports that we're going to be able to provide our students moving forward. We'll be able to house them, included with the housing, all of the utilities will be provided in this temporary housing while we're helping our students provide more permanent housing. We're continuing to work with our other community partners as well, like Humboldt State and ACOE. Ever since fall 2018, we're working on the white paper that we'll be talking about a lot of the progress that we made, but also recommending some next steps, because our plan is to have a plan that addresses homelessness and housing insecurity and food insecurity amongst our students, because we realize that these issues don't just start when the students get to us at college. These are long-term issues. A lot of the students have issues around what would be determined chronic homelessness, which means they've been homeless for six months or more. In some cases, years, some of our students. But they're resilient and they show up and they give their best. And we're super proud of them as a program. These efforts that we're doing has allowed for our program to be also recognized. Out of the 15 colleges who were awarded one of the pilots, we're recognized as one of the model programs, pilot program, HIP programs in the state. We were highlighted in the basic needs report that came out in October. And I've also been appointed as the vice chair of the Northern California Homeless Management Information System Coordinated Entry Committee, which consists of people from Plumas, Modoc, Del Norte, and all the northern counties like that. I'm the vice chair of that committee, and we meet on a monthly basis. So our efforts that we're doing, our partnership, all of the work, it's been tremendous. I want to thank a lot of people within the college for supporting us. A lot of the trustees, and some of you, if you have supported us, I'm sorry if I didn't get you all, but in particular, for sure, Trustee Biggin made a big donation to us last month. Really wanted to thank you for that in the form of clothes and toiletries, because even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, our food pantries in all 3 of our locations have still been open. We've been able to help our students and assist them with food. We have our students are spread out. So they're not just in Humboldt County. They're just not in Del Norte County. We have students right now who are all the way in Sacramento that we are assisting, but they're enrolled full-time attending, going to college or the Redwoods. But they're our students, and due to the pandemic and due to family reasons, they've had to move out of the area. So there's some great faculty members too. I wanted to just point out real quick. Amy Berkowitz, Rob Reiner, Tammy Masamoto. Also want to thank the Grove staff, Kristen, the counselors, Michelle, Diane, the business office staff, Jordan, and definitely not last but not least, Dr. Flamer. Without his support, these efforts are not possible that we're doing as an institution. So I have up our website right here in the background. This is our program. All of our information is here, our values, our services. We have an emergency line for students to call if they need help. We try to call them back if we can, as soon as we can. We meet with staff on the weekends. These efforts don't just stop Monday through Friday. There's times where I'm making hotel rooms, or we're doing reservations for students, or we're coordinating services on the weekend. And it's not always hotel vouchers or room services. The counselors, the staff, they do workshops. They refer students to financial aid. They help advising with classes. They do all of the other things that our other great associate faculty counselors do at CR. So that's pretty much my presentation about our program. I'm excited about the future, about the services. We're looking into expanding services in the form of utilities. That's something that the legislation has stated that we're able to assist students with. So we'll be able to assist students who are homeless or housing insecure with financial aid in those areas. So,
Dr. Johnson, first of all, thank
yes,
you
ma'am.
for all that you and your staff and everyone with whom you're collaborating and cooperating are doing for our students. It's really very heartwarming to hear, to know that our students who need a real leg up. I especially appreciate the report today, having trustees on board, and imagine this has been very informative. Certainly was informative to me, but I think maybe especially so for our new trustees who may not be as familiar with this project. So I'll open up the floor, but I just wanted to personally thank you for all that you're doing and for spearheading this most important program. And congratulations on being recognized in state and being appointed to co-chair the committee. So good on you. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Are there any questions or comments for Dr. Johnson?
I have a comment. I know it's early in the program. I don't know obviously much about it, but going forward, it would be nice to if different students were able to share their success in this program, how it's changed lives. I know it's still early, but that would really be inspiring for everyone and the college too, and everything else. Everyone likes success story. I mean, it's really, really important. But just a comment.
Yes, sir. I'll share one with you. We have a young lady who lost both of her parents, and she became the guardian of her siblings. And she's one of our students, and she's one of those students who not your traditional student, like it hasn't been easy for her because of the deaths of both of her parents, and becoming the guardian of her siblings. And And so she is trying to manage being a student and getting the grades and trying to get into the nursing program and all of those requirements while trying to navigate life as being a student. This young lady that we were able to help has now been awarded a $30,000 scholarship to continue her education at the next level. She will be getting into the nursing program. She will be succeeding. That is just one of our success stories by helping these students. Trustee Muller is absolutely correct. These students, the majority of them are not looking for a handout. They're looking for a hand up. They're determined, they're resilient, they're hardworking, you know, and we have great staff like Aaliyah Donfie, you know, and others who, and Erica Barber, who make referrals, you know, and let us know about these great students who, hey, Kente, I have this student and they just need a little help. They just lost their job. You know, they're about to lose their place. So this student is sleeping in the car, you know, this student is camping in places. This student sleeping in a garage. You know, we hear these stories and we help these students and they move into these places and they're getting A's. They're getting B's. Now, are all of them getting A's and B's? No, I'm not. I'm not going to tell you that because it is definitely a case-by-case basis, right? Because we have to, I'm glad that the program focuses on retention, because if we can't retain them, we can't get to success, right? So this program allows for us to meet them where they are, so that then we can do an assessment and give them the supports to help them reach that goal, like the one student who wants to be a nurse, and the next student who wants to be a zoologist, and the one who wants to be a veterinarian, and the other one who wants to be a lawyer, and the other one who wants to be a social worker, and the other one who wants to be an educator. These are just some of our students. So.
No, I think that's very, very good. Yeah, just keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Are any further questions or comments for Dr. Johnson?
President Muller?
Yes.
I'd like to challenge my trustee colleagues to not think of students in these programs as needy or, you know, disadvantaged or troubled. I mean, these folks, it blow me away, the stuff that they're juggling and still performing and still getting through. You know, the story you told, Dr. Johnson, back when the Redwoods Room and Board scholarship was being put together, of the student that was finishing her last night class, grabbing on the last bus up to you know, the ACV airport up there, and then hiking to the house where were allowing her to camp in their garage, you know, transferring on now in the HSU program, total success story. And I am just amazed by these students, and would encourage my colleagues to continue to support. And I'm so glad to hear that Trustee Biggin made a donation recently. It totally escapes my mind. I need to set a reminder to do this kind of stuff. I thank you, Trustee Biggin, for doing it. And I would encourage us all to try to find some money to give the program this month, trustees.
Thank you, Trustee Kelly, and thank you too for your continued support. You've been one of our biggest champions as well for our students around these efforts. I want to thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Well, again, I want to thank you, Dr. Johnson, and thank you for all your good work.
Thank you, ma'am.
A very happy holiday season.
Happy holidays to you all too. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
So that will move us to 5.3, and we will be hearing from Professor Renner on his sabbatical leave. Are you with us, Professor Renner?
I am. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Good to see you.
And likewise, thank you. So I have prepared a presentation, a video, and I will, let's see, my Zoom screen just changed. There we go. And I have pushed up in the chat a link to the video presentation in the event that there are any technical issues with me delivering it to you this afternoon. That link would take a person at some other time by browser, obviously, to the same presentation that I'm about to show. So with technology the way it is, and with Dan Calderwood having been honored as Professor Emeritus earlier, I'll tell a very brief story about Professor Calderwood, who is so humble and very modest. Years ago, I was very early in the program taking a workshop from him. There were 20 or so people in the room, and the consummate professional he was jiggling with something up front, and then he said, boy, technology, maybe hopefully one of these days I will get the hang of it. And of course, he knew more about technology than all of the rest of us combined, and I'll never forget that. And now it's my opportunity to hopefully see if I can do the technology as well. So Cynthia, if by chance this does not work, just kick me off the share, because I might not be aware if this is not working. So I think I've inspired no confidence whatsoever, but here we go in any event. So having said that, good afternoon, board president and trustees, President Flamer, and members of the college community. Thank you for the time to share a bit with you about my recent sabbatical leave project. My full report was attached to the agenda. In this presentation, I will provide some additional insight into the project. When I first wrote the proposal for this project, I was mainly focusing on adding additional virtual field experiences to Geology 1, physical geology, knowing that students benefit from a wide range of diverse types of learning experiences, in this case, outcrops. Creating virtual field trips would allow students to experience outcrops unlike those found here, in places they could not otherwise study, yet I would be by their side, in a virtual sense, helping them to explore and learn in ways not otherwise possible. Physical geology serves a very important role at CR. For students who are geology majors, of course, but also as a part of several other degree pathways, as we see here in eLumen. Its course learning outcome number 3 is specifically aimed at learning and classifying earth materials, which requires a rigorous hands-on lab and field component. Without lab and field work, it would be nearly impossible to get students to master this crucial outcome. Here is the schedule from a recently taught face-to-face class in physical geology. Please note how many weeks of lab and field work are devoted to learning outcome number 3. The lab and field work are obviously crucial. My initial work and preparation focused on visiting and filming famous geologic landmarks such as Death Valley, the Grand Canyon, Bryce Canyon in Utah, and many others. I literally spent weeks prior to the field work itself studying peer-reviewed journals of what I would find there. But then COVID-19 appeared, and suddenly most of the areas I'd been preparing to visit and study became closed to the public. My fallback was actually an area of equal geologic value, though perhaps less breathtaking than the Grand Canyon. I would do my field work principally in the Bighorn Basin of Wyoming. It was also an area not heavily restricted at that time due to COVID, so if careful, I could complete my field work with little health risk. You will see here in an international professional journal that this area is a geologic treasure trove. If I could not assemble virtual field trips using materials and outcrops here, I am no geologist. The universities who have geology field camps here can attest to that. So I dove into the legalese world of special use permits, dotted my I's and crossed my T's, and headed for Wyoming. It is an easy place to work as a geologist. For one thing, there is no poison oak, and outcrops are visible due to lack of vegetation. Work went smoothly for the most part. However, one memorable afternoon, a powerful gust of wind sent my $6,000 rig into the dirt and threatened the project. But a full day of careful cleaning averted crisis. However, other crises were brewing back home at CR. From my camp high in the mountains, I routinely drove to this spot where I could connect to a cell tower dozens of miles away and communicate with my then dean, Dave Bizard, and associate faculty colleague, Emily Wright. I had learned CR would go fully online for fall, meaning physical geology lab would have to be virtual. Moreover, nationwide, actually worldwide, demand for commercially available rock and mineral specimen kits had gone ballistic. We would not be able to acquire specimen kits for students this fall. We would have to present rocks and minerals to students without them having access to the rocks and minerals. That is a big deal. For reference, here again is that recent in-person class schedule. The worst case scenario was that lack of student access to materials would force us to abort all rock and mineral labs. But that was completely unacceptable, as we could never achieve student mastery of the learning outcomes without those activities. Enter serendipity. At that very moment, I was on sabbatical and in the field in a geologically rich area. I could and did modify my work plan on the fly to gather not only those materials supporting the original sabbatical proposal, but also those supporting building a fully online lab sequence. So my work proceeded. I drove hundreds of miles to salient outcrops, shot hundreds of photos, took videos from the ground and from my drone, collected new specimens, and then I raced home. In the geology lab at Del Norte, I dug out hundreds of pounds of materials I had previously collected and curated. Then I chose very specific minerals, materials, rocks, and carted them home to my basement, which I then turned into a photo and video studio. Specimens that are hundreds of millions and in some cases several billion years old met technology that is only weeks or months old. Feldspar goes zoom. Even wildfire evacuation only set me back 3 days. Life goes on. Fast forwarding, I have now finished and published a lot of focused videos and have now taught the entire course fully online. Additionally, I have made my videos available to Emily Wright for use in her geology courses. My class schedule shows I covered all lab course outcomes, and student feedback and assessment show it worked out. We did it, but quite frankly, I do not know how I could have accomplished a successful rollout this fall without the materials I generated from this sabbatical. It has literally made all the difference in the world for me. I cannot overemphasize that point. I will teach physical geology online again next semester with some refinements, and I plan to create even more new videos from the raw materials I gathered during the sabbatical. I suspect CR may now choose to offer this course online on a regular basis, and we are up to that challenge. For once the lid of Pandora's box is lifted, it's impossible and maybe counterproductive to force it back on. In summary, I'm exhausted, but every science faculty member teaching lab courses has a story like mine, and each faculty member is equally exhausted right now. I hope you join me in formally recognizing the extraordinary work of our faculty doing the heavy lifting for our students this fall and next spring. To them, I salute. CR has extraordinary faculty doing incredible work for our students. My hat is off to them. Thank you again. Best wishes and health to you and yours. So I don't know if the technology worked. Did you see that?
Perfect.
It was wonderful, Professor
Yes.
Benner. I want to take your course.
There are openings. People say it's rigorous, but I invite you.
My hat is off to you, and I'm so glad that you acknowledged the work of all of your faculty colleagues and the staff who stepped up to help with all the technology to make these courses such a wonderful experience for our students. I just can't even imagine the work that went into it. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That was, I enjoyed every moment of it. And I'll stop babbling here. But this is my last meeting as president, so I can talk as much as I want, right, Vice President Kelly?
President Mullery, thank you for your comments. The only thing that I would say is every time that I was feeling tired and then would connect with and talk with a colleague, a biology colleague, physics, whether it's Eric Kramer, Dickie LaPenta, whoever, they are working every bit as we're all, so I'm just one person. I have done nothing extraordinary. And I see what everyone else is doing, and I'm just amazed at what everyone else is doing. And they didn't get the sabbatical. So I thank you all for the sabbatical. It's really, really helped this program. And I really appreciate the fact that this district supports sabbaticals. Thank you.
What I think you did was extraordinary, so I disagree with you. But again, I will stop talking. Does anyone else want to make any comment or have any questions?
Oh, is this just beautiful? I want to go to Wyoming.
No, I've never been.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the effort. That was very informative.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and happy holidays, Professor Renner.
And you as well. Thank you so much.
Okay. Let's see. That moves us to 5.4, which is our fall withdrawal data. And President Flamer, do you want to lead us in this discussion or have someone else?
Well, I most certainly can. If Paul Chown is on, that's even great. I believe Trustee Biggin asked a few months ago at the beginning of fall semester what the enrollment looked like in terms of students staying in classes and students withdrawing from classes, because we knew going completely online that we were going to lose some students. And at that point, I asked that I present the information at the end of the fall semester so we have more current data. So what you have in front of you is the data that we have. Clearly, we expected a higher withdrawal rate, if you will, from new students coming in. And it's very clear that going online, we left a large percentage of our students on the margins. Not all students like online learning. We know that, especially in Humboldt County. But most of our students like that face-to-face value addedness of being with their peers, face-to-face with their instructors. So this is just the data that the board requested. And we are also going to use this data as we move forward into fall semester planning, fall of 21 planning.
Any questions for President Flamer? I'm finding this really interesting data. I appreciate you pulling it together, President Flamer.
I do. First, I want to thank Trustee Bingham for asking for it. It was really an eye-opener for me. I kept looking at it. What are unknown students? The category unknown?
So I just had to make sure I was unmuted. Those students could be those students who are dual enrollment students. They could fall into that category. Students, they could also be community ed students or students that were not simply in credit courses.
And so, I mean, is this pretty common throughout the community college system, this drop, or do we know?
It's common now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing as Siskiyous and other schools are saying.
And do we expect it to continue to drop or to level, or what's the expectation in spring?
And actually, if you would hold that, because I want to make that as an open comment in my board report.
Okay.
President Mullery?
Yes, Trustee Kelly.
Thank you. Dr. Flamer, what's the process that the college uses when folks withdraw? I kind of feel like it's an opportunity for an exit interview, you know? And I'm wondering, like, also, you know, I think the natural inclination is to go straight to COVID, and students don't like to be online. But as we just heard from Dr. Johnson's presentation, there's many challenges that students are experiencing every year. And so what's our process for withdrawals, and how can we start addressing this? And maybe that'll come in your presentation later.
Well, actually, I would like to, if Dr. Hill is on, because she's put a very good process in place with faculty on withdrawals. So Dr. Hill, very briefly, can you give an update on the process?
Yes, just really quickly, we embedded a retention alert through colleague in our, we called it traditionally data tell. And so Trustee Matthews, I don't believe we had this when you were using the system, but it allows faculty to initiate an alert within the system to our counseling and advising staff when faculty are concerned that a student might not be retained, or for a variety of reasons, but that would certainly be one of them. And so then that goes to a person who oversees that system. Right now it's in our admissions office. They route it, they look up the student, figure out, you know, are they in DSPS or EOPS, or you know, what services are available to them, or route them directly to the instructor. But just use a value or judgment, you know, their judgment on how to best do it. Then they're supposed to follow up with the instructor once the referral has been made. So we do our best to staff this. We've had different people in charge because we have had high turnover in some of our student services staff. But we are staffing it with actually a person who I referenced in my report, Ms. Ramirez. So I think that's long enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Are there any other questions or comments? So
Trustee Mallory? Trustee
yeah.
Mallory?
Yes, Trustee Biggin.
Well, it's not on the screen right now, but as part of this agenda item, they had the disaggregated information about the various ethnic groups. And I appreciated that additional data being shared with us. And I wondered, were there any ethnic groups we felt were more impacted by this semester, or is it pretty evenly across all ethnic groups, the withdrawal data?
It seems to be evenly spaced of all the ethnic groups, Trustee Biggin.
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Trustee Biggin. Hearing no further questions, I want to ask my trustee colleagues, we've been at this for a little over 2 hours now. Did you want to take a 5 or 10 minute break, or do you want to move ahead into organizational reports?
I'm good.
Okay. Are the rest of you good?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
You're all great. Okay, then we will forge ahead and move into section 6, our organizational reports. We have a written report from President of the Academic Senate, President Gary Sokolow. Are you there, President Sokolow?
I'm here, Madam Chair.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, yourself?
So is there anything you'd like to add to your report or clarify?
Not really. I think it's fairly self-explanatory, and I know you've had a long meeting today.
Am I looking like that?
I think everyone is.
Well, I appreciate that. Are there any questions for President Sakala? Well, thank you, and thank you for hanging in there with us.
You're more than welcome.
Holidays. That'll take us to CRFO President Michelle Haggerty. Are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
What would you like? Is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, just a few things. Wait, one thing I guess I'll start off with saying that I didn't prepare a written report. I'm sorry, last week was kind of crazy. And I think all faculty are in this place where we're tired and we've got lots of grading to do and we're working really hard to get it done.
No, you're good.
I think it's been mentioned a few times already today, but you know, this has been a hard semester. This is no surprise to anyone. Faculty have been working tirelessly to really get everything online and to try to retain the students that are in our classes. So, you know, it's been pretty busy. I wanted to also give a shout out to the curriculum work that's been done, that was a huge load. And from what I'm hearing, we're in a really good place in comparison to other colleges with getting all of those distance education and continuing education addendums done. So that's really great. The CRFO has been working with the district on a number of MOUs. I think we're up to number 44 for this contract, so we have a lot. But we've been working on the safety protocols and the return to work MOU that so faculty that will be face-to-face in the spring. So we've been working on that for a while. I just signed the MOU today, and then some of the protocols went out last week during division meetings, and I'll be sending out those protocols tomorrow probably too. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
I don't think we want to use the term return to work.
No. Return to the physical campus.
Return to something approaching normalcy, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all I have too. So I'll just say, I have in my notes here, that these protocols, all of this is in coordination with public health too. So the district is in constant contact with public health. And I received an email today from Bob Brown, who, you know, is looking at the testing and the availability of testing for the college. And he's been working really hard on that. He had a lot to say about, you know, our county doesn't have a lot of testing available, but I think the college is working really hard to do what we can do to have as many classes or as many students and faculty face-to-face as is needed and as possible, and keeping everybody safe.
Yes. And thank you for underscoring again, as Trustee Matthews did earlier, all the work that's gone into curriculum that, you know, the faculty have done on top of everything else that they have done since last March. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yes.
Any questions for Professor Haggerty? Hearing none, we'll move to our classified staff president, Tammy Engman. Are you still with us?
I'm here.
There you are.
Good afternoon, trustees. Welcome again to Trustee Robertson. Earlier this month, Mark Bernards, who is our first vice president, he and I met with Trustee Robertson and Trustee Capini as their new, you know, I almost said new employee orientation, but new trustee orientation. Mm-hmm. We had good conversations with them. In October and November, the classified staff, the chapter had nominations, election procedures for the offices of president, secretary, and communications officer. We had nominations. There weren't enough people that accepted nominations to hold elections. So I'm pleased to report that Adrian Dobson, who's a custodian 2 in the maintenance department, will now become our public relations officer. Our secretary position is going to be vacant for a bit. Our current secretary, Tom Cossey, who has held numerous positions in the chapter over the years, is going to step away, and we thank him immensely for all the work that he has provided to our chapter over the years. And then finally, I will be taking on another 2-year term as chapter president.
Very good.
The only other comment I wanted to provide was a congratulations to Professor Calderwood on his emeritus status. I've had him as a professor and been on a few committees with him, and I think he's a great colleague and a wonderful professor. So congratulations to him on that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for all your service in this work as president of the classified unions, and congratulations on accepting that appointment for 2 more years.
Thank you.
Very good. Any questions or comments? Happy holidays, President Engman. That takes us to Management Council. And is President Jordan Hamill with us? Is he with us and maybe muted? Maybe he stepped away. So is our student trustee with us today? Okay. So I believe that will take us then, unless I hear some shout in the background, to our administrative reports. And we'll start out with President Superintendent report. Dr. Flamer.
Thank you. I know it's been a long meeting, but I did say that I was going to discuss or talk a little bit about our spring enrollment and some issues that's surrounding our spring enrollment. As of last week, I know it's very early, and we usually see I hate to use the word surge, but I want to say it in this case, a surge of enrollment after the beginning of the year. But as of just a couple of days ago, CR, we were 33% down in the same period last year. And just to give a little bit of comparison, Siskiyou's they're down 40%, Butte is down 20%, Santa Barbara is down 25%, Cuesta is down 54%, College of the Desert is down 50%, Cabrillo is down 40%, State Center is down 24%, and Butte right now is down 20%. So this does show that going online is going to be very difficult for the community college system to deal with going in spring semester. And I think that's just not in California, but that's nationally. We're seeing a large dip in enrollment because we've all had to make this massive transition from face-to-face to online. But under Dr. Hill's guidance, what we're doing is that we are calling students. We are asking students who were enrolled in fall semester to come back, but also students who have applied and have yet to enroll. We're getting in touch with them as well. So Dr. Hill's department is working on that. But also Aaliyah Dunphy through our Multicultural Diversity Center, she's doing the same thing of students that were really heavily involved in the Multicultural Diversity Center in the fall semester and have yet to apply or enroll for spring. So we're doing the high touch process moving forward. And I think that it'll start to pick up after the year when people are less concerned about buying presents and trying to be with family, hopefully not too much, but also, so I expect it to increase in spring semester. I don't think we will be even as last spring. I don't think that the trend is there, but I think that we will be okay. And also what I comment that I made in my written report is that I'm feeling pretty optimistic about the vaccines being rolled out to our community. So much so that I've asked Angelina to start planning for some level of balance between the old normal and a new normal for next fall semester. And we will be able to report to the board on that shortly.
Okay.
And that's all I had for verbal comments, Dr. Mallory.
It appears that Trustee Matthews may have a question for you.
I just wanted to be reminded the start date for spring semester.
Dr. Hill, do you happen to have that handy? Since every day is almost the same for me, so.
Sorry, our flex is 14th and 15th. So that would make it the 17th, right? Because
Thank
it's
you.
Saturday, yeah.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I had two questions.
Yes, Trustee Dorn.
So with the drop in enrollment and obviously there wouldn't be as many classes, do you, is it the adjunct faculty that makes up the difference, that not coming, that they don't come back because of the lack of students?
Yes, yeah, that burden is on the associate faculty. It is.
And so that in some ways would throw off the 50-50 could potentially as well.
That is that is one of my concerns, Trustee Dorn, that you picked up. Absolutely, for 2021, I think yes, it's going to impact.
Yeah. And my other question was that, of course, you know how much I love foreign international students, and you said you had a list of 47 given to you. So what's the process now that you have a list?
Well, actually, that's why we are going to meet with our HSU colleagues. So we are going to develop a strategic plan, but also tactics associated with how we want to recruit these international students. And because they have a lot more experience at it, and we haven't done it effectively for many years. So that's because in my view is we want students who will come to CR and then a pathway transfer to HSU. So we want to recruit in students to Humboldt County. If they come here, that'd be great. So we can start that pathway process started.
So I have a question. By what time do we have, what year or whatever, what semester do we have to get this enrollment back up before it really affects our funding?
That's still uncertain. As of what, about a month ago, we had a 2-year or 2 or 3 year hold harmless, a 2-year hold harmless process. I think there is a recommendation that I think Trustee Biggin is working with on the ACCT that would have a 3-year hold harmless, but also that they would have a different averaging that they would use for the enrollment process on FTS allocation.
So
because right now they use a 3-year rolling average. And it would be better for us if they had a 2-year rolling average instead of 3, because this year is so bad.
Oh, so they do the rolling average? I thought they always took the higher of 3. No?
That was back in the old days.
I'm showing my age.
Well, no, it's just that that the funding formula has changed so much from when it was enacted to where it is today.
Okay.
Are there any further questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Trustee Matthews.
So I don't know, how much, you know better than I, how much flexibility the state has and is going to use because of the pandemic. But we won't be the only community college that's struggling over the 50%, because nobody's, up there doing 60, 70%. I mean, and
Correct.
And losing enrollment, therefore losing associate faculty classes, therefore losing, instructional cost or instructional expense. it's not going to do any college or the chancellor's office to the extent, or the state, any good to decimate, you know, our classified staff just in order to keep a 50% law. And I'm hoping that there is some recognition of that for this year. It just, everybody's going to be in the same boat to some extent.
I thought I heard that that's been suspended for this year anyway. I don't think the 50% law is going to be enforced. At least that's what I got the impression of from Liz Navarrete when she gave a presentation to one of the trustees meetings.
Do you know President Flamer?
I'm not sure what it would, if they're going to suspend it for the 2021 year. But all we're doing right now is reporting on 2019 and 20.
Right.
We're looking backwards.
Right.
It would make sense for them to suspend it, at least don't have fees attached to it or penalties in 20 and 21. That would make sense, but I have not seen anything in writing from the chancellor's office yet to kind of to say that that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'd still have to report it, but if there just wasn't, you know, there's a 1-year forgiveness on the penalty part while we're
I agree.
Catching up.
And you're absolutely right. We are not the only college that is going to that is facing these issues.
So are we ready to move on? Sounds like we are. So we'll hear from our Vice President of Instruction and Student Services, Dr. Angelina Hill.
Hi, thank you for allowing me. I'd like to give just a brief addition to my report before I answer any questions that you may have. And I know it's been a long meeting, but I do have a few thank yous that I just feel are really important to cover before we move into the break, and given what has happened during these times. I wanted to first thank the board for approving the emeritus status of Professor Calderwood. I will confess that Paul Chown and I were very emotional about this retirement, given all the support he's given us in institutional effectiveness to me over the last 10 years. So that's a difficult retirement for us. I just learned that Tom Cossey, coming off of the CSEA, Tom has been amazing, and I'm sure he has given them amazing support. So that's, I'm sure, a big loss to them. I just wanted to recognize his contribution to the college all of these years. As you know, the curriculum committee has been incredibly busy. They approved 171 touches to curriculum just in this packet alone. I know you saw that. So I just wanted to acknowledge the work of Sean Thomas, the chair of that committee. As you heard, we're kind of leading the pack, it sounds like, with getting that done. And then also with speaking of curriculum, Sean Thomas and I, we got a little grant through the Guided Pathways program for credit for prior learning. And so it was a micro grant, so small, but we decided to buy all kinds of, as many books that we thought would be relevant to learn more about credit for prior learning, about outcomes-based assessment, about how these align with distance education, policy making around this. So we were just scouring through. And so now my office says, I have all these books, and we're gonna comb through them, see which ones we think will be the most meaningful for the faculty and staff of the college, and then use the rest of the funds to buy more. So that was kind of interesting. I thought what Trustee Biggin said about the ACCJC, the webinars and the books that they posted, it made me think about that and the important stuff that the ACCJC is doing right now. And I'm sure some of our curriculum members attended those sessions. So thank you for that. And then I just the staff, there's several staff, and these are just in my area. So they're the staff I work with constantly. But Cameron Papp, who supports the curriculum committee and was brand new in that role, moving into this pandemic, has been amazing. Reno Giovanetti has worked tirelessly. I've seen him nonstop on Zoom. Let's see her. I know I'm forgetting folks, and I apologize, but I just want to let you know. Oh, during this meeting, I went through a report on hierarchical clustering dendrograms that our research analyst Joseph Hayes made to help us identify the meta majors for the college under the Guided Pathways Committee. So these staff are just doing amazing work. And then
it almost sounded like English.
It is almost English. I am almost familiar with it because of my work with the research and planning group, which is where it comes from. But it's amazing work. And just a little preview: health and wellness and STEM and people and societies were just a few meta majors that came out of this dendrogram clustering. Then also just the faculty: Wendy Riggs, the staff, Prue, Rory, the deans are all, I mean, we were just saying how many more semesters, but we're gonna, it's difficult times, but we're getting through. And I'm just so appreciative to all these folks. I'm sure folks I didn't mention, Prue, Rory, there's so many. And with that, and then, just like Renner just gave us a little, lesson in geology. So just so many amazing people at the college. And I just wanted, I know me thanking them in front of you, the board, means a lot to them. So thank you for this time and letting me do this. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
I do have a question.
Yes, Trustee Dorn.
So I believe in your report you mentioned the ACJC new videos. Is that
was in Trustee Biggin's report.
Okay, I couldn't remember who did it. I thought I read it. Okay. So is there a new set of?
I apologize. They released a set of videos they did a series of presentations over the week through, they've done series and they've posted videos associated with those. And kind of they're reinstating the values of the commission. And there's a lot coming out in accreditation land at the other regional accrediting agencies about kind of reinstating the values post-pandemic and preparing for that. So I think it is a really important time with regards to accreditation.
And that link is in my board report.
Oh, it's in your, okay, I'm sorry. Because I was just wondering, would it be as in the past, we made it mandatory for all the trustees to watch that? Is this something that we should be considering or doing?
I would suggest yes, because I think that accreditation is changing so much for the better that I think all the trustees should be part of the series.
Okay, I'll bring it up in 8.1. And I apologize that I had it under the wrong person. I just was doing it from memory instead of printing everything.
I think everybody sees me and thinks ACCJC. I'm that interesting of a person. Just kidding.
No. Thank you.
Trustee Dorn, I don't know that it's necessary to bring at 8.1. What I would suggest, but of course this will be in Trustee Kelly's court, is that this is something that we could talk about at our January retreat and workshop. That this is an activity that we need to all get behind.
Okay, I mean, in the past we had it, I forgot how we did it, but we had it that everybody should watch it. And we had to do ours mostly for the file for ACJC when they come back to show trustees. So, I mean, I don't know what my other trustees think of this idea.
Well, I can't speak for the other trustees either, but I think it's an excellent idea and I appreciate you bringing it up.
So maybe we should agendize it in January, at the January meeting, or
I guess I'm not sure what the agenda would be.
that we were all going to do it.
Yeah. What I might want to do is go back and look at how we implemented it the last time.
That's what I was sort of asking.
Yeah, yeah. So why don't we do that? I'm quite confident that we're all going to be on board, and it might be just through this conversation it's going to happen, but I agree with you that we should codify it to say, yeah, this is an expectation for all trustees to get through these learning activities for ACCJC. One thing I would like to add, Dr. Hill, first of all, I want to thank you for recognizing all the faculty and staff who have put in, these tremendous hours to get all this work done. But I also want to recognize you. You've really done amazing work. You always have. And are you okay? Yeah, okay.
Oh, it's just my glasses are shiny. That's all. Sorry. Thank you, though. I appreciate it very much. It means a lot to me.
I do just want to recognize you and thank you for all the tremendous work that I know you've been doing as well. Let's see. That takes us to Vice President of Administrative Services. Vice President Morrison, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Anything you'd like to add to your report?
Just really quick, I just wanted to say I'm really happy to hear about the approval for the faculty emeritus status for Professor Calderwood. It's definitely well deserved. And I've had the fortunate experience to work with him on a few occasions. All were positive. I wish I'd had the opportunity to work with him more. So I just wanted to say that. The only thing that I'll add to this report is, in addition to the Cal OSHA emergency COVID-19 regulations, there was also SB 1159 and AB 685 that are both COVID related. One has to do, SB 1159 more with workers' comp and a presumption, and AB 685 speaks to notifications to employees and other notifications that employers are now required to follow. And so we're diligently working on following the regulations, most importantly to not just to follow them, but to ensure the health and safety of our employees and our students.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Or just a comment, maybe a question. When you follow these new Cal OSHA COVID-19 regulations, we document them, right?
There's lots of documentation, lots of reporting, lots of record keeping.
Yeah, okay.
And I would imagine you would be working in collaboration with HR for these requirements. Am I right about that?
In part, yes.
Yeah.
HR, facilities.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you, Vice. Who am I thanking? Vice President Morrison. This has been a longer meeting than usual. Okay, I appreciate your clarifications there. Let's move to 7.4, Executive Director of our Advancement, Marty Quinlo.
Good afternoon. My report is fairly complete. I want to highlight the fact that we've been able to secure $158,000 of emergency funds for our students, which I'm sure they're going to greatly appreciate. And if anyone has any questions, I could answer those. And then I want to introduce Shannon Sullivan, who's going to talk about her project at the Morris Graves Museum that the Sierra Foundation sponsored.
President Mullery, I have one question.
Yes, Trustee Kelly.
Thank you. Mr. Coelho, with President Flamer's announcement about the importance of resuming the football program and potentially, and wondering what your thoughts are about fundraising efforts for that program. I know that the foundation was mentioned a bit in there.
Yes. Well, I'm personally looking forward to it. CR football has quite a history in this community. Football, both at CR and HSU, has been supported by the community over the years. I'm confident that we are going to find those individuals and organizations and businesses in the area that are going to want to support the program. I think the focus on our football program being more in alignment with how Bob Brown has structured our basketball programs, where we're focusing on trying to recruit as many local athletes as possible. I think that that will be very well received by the community and supported.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions or comments for Mr. Coelho? Thank you, Mr. Coelho. I appreciate your written report and your update.
Okay, so is Shannon on the
Sorry,
call?
we have Shannon.
Here, yes. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, so thanks for having me today, and Marty, thanks for putting me with you. I think this could be sort of considered an alumni update as well as a foundation update. So for those of you who don't know me, I work in the art department as faculty. I initially had asked to be president this meeting so I could encourage folks to check out the Morris Graves Museum right now to see the exhibition out in the world. And I'm going to share my screen so I can show you the cover of the catalog. Is it there? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Tried to make it large, but I don't think it's doing that now. So the show opened on November 14th and was open for about a week before we went into the purple, and then it closed again. So in the board packet, we included a link where you can download a PDF of this catalog if you'd like to see it. And you can see the work from the show and see bios and alumni reflections from each of the 15 CR alumni who are included in this exhibition. Really, I'm here today because I wanted to say thank you to the folks who made this project possible. First, the foundation. Marty and I worked together to provide funds to create printed copies of the catalog, to give a copy to each artist, and to provide shipping stipends for the artists to get their work to the museum. There are extra copies of the book as well. We also included a link in the board packet. If you're interested to have a hard copy, you can get one there. Thanks to Molly Blakemore, who worked on a Saturday. She came to the museum on a Saturday and did some filming and interviewing with 5 of our alumni with their work in the museum. I'm just so excited to see what Molly comes up with for new promotional material for the college with this content. I think it's going to be really beautiful. So thank you, Molly. And thank you so much to Trustee Biggin and to her husband, John, who supported the exhibition through museum sponsorship. Trustee Biggin has been on the advisory board for the Humboldt Arts Council, which lives in the Morris Graves Museum for years. And I thank you, Sally, for seeing this opportunity to blend your areas of service in our community. So thank you so much for that. I worked on this project as part of my sabbatical, which is happening right now. So thanks to the district for continuing to offer the opportunities for faculty to turn their attention to other meaningful work. It's been a great project, despite the scheduling challenges. And basically, I wanted people to walk away from today's meeting with a positive feeling about what we're doing as an institution and the impact we're making as a college on our community through the creative work of our alumni is literally making our place more beautiful through numerous murals and public art initiatives that are being driven by our alumni. Our alumni are making our community healthier and happier by combining their passions of visual art and healing when working with area youth. Our former students use their artistic training to assist visionary artists and artists of all abilities to meet their goals and remain engaged in community, sometimes even supporting those students who are taking CR classes. They raise their kids in the traditions of the Klamath River tribes, and they use creative expression as an outlet to keep their family connected. They're grad students, designers, educators, small business owners, and they all love their time at CR. So if you get a chance, I encourage you to read through this PDF. It's the best thing we have right now because the museum is closed. It's a super CR Love Fest, the PDF catalog that goes beyond the art department in its scope of appreciation. These students are citing their experience in all of their courses as being super influential in their art careers. So if you drive by the Morris Graves, which is in Eureka on 6th Street, anytime between now and January 3rd, know there's a beautiful show of CR alumni installed in there. Yeah, it's too bad it's closed. We did the best we could. And thank you to everyone who made it happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Sullivan. I really appreciate you hanging out here with us and sharing all that. And I am sorry that the museum closed, but it still sounds like you have some beautiful, the catalog to share with us, and the museum will be open again.
It will be. And this catalog gives the exhibition longevity, which is exciting. There are hard copies that are meant to be in the offices of all of our counselors and administrators, offices around campus for students to look at. And the PDF will be posted to the art department website. So, and then I'm so excited about, what kind of content Molly comes up with for social media and such.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
It will.
Thanks.
Thank you. I guess that takes us back to you, Mr. Coelho. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, that would be it.
All right. Well, I think we're at agenda item 8. Would a trustee like to place an item for a future agenda or direct staff to give a regular report? I have written down Trustee Doran's request regarding the training, the ACCJC training. So I'm not going to let that drop, Trustee Doran. Anything else?
I have a
sorry, go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Who, me or you?
Go ahead, Trustee Capini.
Oh.
I defer.
Yeah, I have a request if you guys, if staff could do it and if you guys agree to it. It's tied to 4.1, the financial report. Doesn't have to be done, maybe at the end of the school year. I'd like a report on the student debt and uncollected debt and how much do we forgive, what the trend is, for the last year or two, because, that counts as our reserve in the 9%. So, maybe like at the end of the spring semester or whatever.
I know it doesn't need a second, but I think that'd be great for the new trustees to have. I know we had a presentation, I believe, last year on that. Maybe something could be given to kind of update that report.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I'm hearing no objections. I'd like to ask President Flamer if this seems like a reasonable request.
Yes, it is, Dr. Mallory.
Okay, all righty. Thank you for making that request, Trustee Carpini. And I believe Trustee Kelly, you had something on this item?
Yes, and I don't know how to bring this up or with whom. I guess I'd like to hear Trustee Biggin weigh in on the idea. I have been thinking a lot about our trustees and an idea of maybe some kind of an online center of excellence for trustees. There are so many different sources of places to get information on improving ourselves as trustees. And so many of us are going out there and finding stuff. And then, occasionally we'll remember to bring it to the board and share it, or we'll send an email and it'll get passed around, but items might get lost. And I just think it would be really nice to have a resource for trustees, beyond just the policies and things that we have online, but places where we can go to learn. And maybe there's something out there that exists like this. I know Trustee Biggin, I was trying to access a link for online learning with a state resource. I believe I talked to you about it. But I'm thinking something that's specific for College of the Redwoods, where, maybe we could share information that goes into our decision making and some of the votes that we've done, in fact, as a board, to kind of preserve some of that legacy and learning for future trustees. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm trying to get this out on the table so we can maybe think about it or talk about it as a board.
I'd like to suggest that would be a topic for possibly our January workshop, because you're talking about professional growth, and it sounds like a professional library, which we used to have in the past of, you know, books, but you're looking at something maybe more virtual. And the chancellor's office has the big resource center. Well, that's complicated to access sometimes. But I think it would be good to talk about it at a workshop.
That's a great idea.
Anything else?
Trustee Mallory, President Mallory.
Yes, Trustee Matthews.
I'm going to hijack the item for a moment because I do not have something that I want to suggest for a future meeting, but I would like to take the opportunity on all our behalf, both to welcome our new trustees, but specifically to thank you for serving as president of the board this year, which has been a challenge and has been unexpectedly altered and has created a great deal of extra work for you, I know. And in dealing with, you know, unstable signals, cats, dogs barking, people working, those of us trying to figure it out, I just really want to acknowledge your work this year. Thank you.
Well, Trustee Matthews, that's very kind of you. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I have enjoyed it. And I'm going to enjoy even more handing it over to Vice President Kelly. But thank you, that was very kind of you. So we are going to go into closed session to talk about two items, 11.1 public employment and 11.2 conference with legal counsel regarding our existing litigation. I am going to say that we're going to take a 10-minute break because I need a break, and we'll be back in 10 minutes if that's agreeable to everyone who needs to agree.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Just how do we get back? How do
about,
we do it into closed session then?
I have no idea. Thank you. So I am reconvening our open session. During closed session, the board took one action, and that was to approve the hiring of a temporary employee in the Law Enforcement Academy. That's the only action that the board took during closed session. And with that, I wish everybody a happy holiday. Be safe, be smart, and I'll see you next year.